The community of player experience research has recently begun to really grapple with issues such as questionable research practices, transparency, and the generalizing of our findings, for example, in meta-analyses. We aim to continue this discussion with our paper and its specific focus on the measurement of implicit constructs through the use of survey scales, and we will illustrate this method and its pitfalls in this presentation using the example of enjoyment. Enjoyment is what we refer to as a construct. This means it is a subjective experience that is neither directly observable nor measurable. However, as many papers in PX will show, it is highly interesting to our research. This is where operationalization comes to play. Operationalization of a construct is the process of making it measurable, finding a way to translate an experience into a numerical value that we can use for our statistical analyses. Often this translation results in what we call a survey scale, for example, the intrinsic motivation inventory. These survey scales are a popular method, and most researchers who are interested in quantitative data of subjective experience will have come into contact with them. However, despite their usefulness and widespread nature, they are neither trivial in development nor in use. So going back to our example of enjoyment, how can we make sure that the number the survey scale gives us at the end of a study is actually representative of the enjoyment the participant felt? This is also referred to as the validity of a scale, and the truth is there are no definitive ways to truly know whether a scale is valid. However, there are different ways in which we can provide evidence of validity. This is where transparency comes to the forefront of the issue. For both reviewers and readers of a paper, to assess whether they think what a researcher measured was truly enjoyment, researchers need to provide information. We separated this information into three distinct categories for our model. First, researchers need to be clear about what it is that they measure. What is enjoyment? Is it a form of intrinsic motivation or positive affect? And further, what is the theory behind it? For example, is it the result of satisfying your basic needs? All of these questions need to be answered about the construct before measuring it. Once the conceptual questions have been answered, we need to ask questions about the how or the operationalization. Does a scale that fits your understanding of enjoyment exist, or do you have to make your own? If you're choosing an existing scale, what is its standardized form, and do you have to adapt it for your own research context? Lastly, to reflect this process, researchers need to answer why they have decided to measure enjoyment this way. Researchers are required to critically reflect on their employed measures and report any evidence of validity explicitly. Questions will arise such as, has the proposed factorial structure of a survey scale been investigated, or are you simply using it because other researchers used it before? In short, when using survey scales to measure, researchers have to report on definition, theory, administration, operationalization, validation, and justification of a measurement used. However, when we analyzed the Chi-Play 2020 papers, we found that neither the what nor the why were commonly transparently reported. This has potential implications of the findings of these papers. We are not saying that the used measurements are not valid because of this, but rather that we cannot know. One especially important implication that arises due to the lack of definitions for constructs is the potential conceptual confusion due to issues such as jingle-jangle fallacies. When definitions are lacking, we do not know whether two different papers who measured enjoyment with different scales mean the same thing. Often this results in researchers bridging the troubled waters of ill-defined constructs by using survey skills in replacement of explicit definitions. This leads to a lack of strong conceptual building blocks with which we can build theory in our field and hinders the generalizability of the knowledge that we generate, meaning we cannot create a larger model of the enjoyment of video games encompassing all relevant research without having a conceptual cohesion of what we as a research field mean with enjoyment. For further discussions in regards to this issue and more detailed results, you can refer to our paper, and we're looking forward to answering any questions you might have now. Thank you for your attention.